Hi, my name's Dan, and this video is one in a series of videos I'm doing about the design of magic systems for video games, which is part of a much larger set of videos about video game design topics, which in turn is part of my game development channel, which currently is being filled with stuff that I'm using for my teaching. So in this one, I'm going to discuss the concept of schools of magic and separating magic in, the magic in your game into distinct schools. There's not a lot to say. I think you probably know what I'm talking about already. I just want to give a few thoughts about that and a few examples, and then we'll be done. Right, so splitting magic into schools. Let's first of all have some examples. So here's an example from a game, which I believe is Tolas, and this has 8 schools. Actually, these schools are very similar to the pen and paper role-playing game Dungeons and Dragons schools. The names are slightly different in a couple of places, but and we have divination, abjuration, enchantment, necromancy, illusion, conjuration, evocation, and transmutation. And I decline to go through those and explain what each one is. Some of those have been explained in earlier videos in this series. Here's another one. So this is actually not from a video game. This is from somebody's Reddit site. They're doing some world building and designing some ideas. So there's just an image, but I can kind of guess what these schools of magic might be. One thing I think is really cool is the symbols here, whereas everything looks like a tree, but the white over on the left is presumably ice. The next one round is presumably fire. We've got the green one, which would be nature, I would guess. And I'm not quite sure what the other ones will be. But you get the idea, splitting your magic up into different distinct sections. Another classic one would be earth, air, fire, and water, the 4 classic elements. Yeah, if you're designing a magic system, then this might be something you want to do, and you might want to think about what the actual schools would be in your magic system. So here's some thoughts about splitting magic into schools. So it can be used to guide choice in terms of players when they steer them down a route, help them know which sets of spells are similar and linked together with a similar kind of magic. It can give you limiting factors, so the players may be only able to choose one school, or they may be able to choose one school, and if you've got some kind of circle, which sometimes happens, then they can get spells from neighbouring schools, or they may be banned from spells of the opposing schools, or all sorts of things like that. It aids design. Any kind of structure that you bring into designing any of your mechanics in games can be an aid to design, because it then triggers thinking and thoughts about what you might have. Also, it can be used as a design tool for doing the kind of rock, paper, scissors damage thing. So the Pokemon games had different types of damage, and they had Pokemon who were particularly resistant to some damage types and particularly vulnerable to others. And that can be done through a schools of magic type design if you wanted it to be. It could be an alignment with player classes or character classes. If you've got an RPG style system, you could have. You don't have to do that strong alignment. You could do it differently. And as well as the mechanics of what schools can give you, there are also some other opportunities in a wider gameplay context. So there are things that you can do if you're doing schools of magic, which include things like having physical schools. So especially if you've got an open world actually having physical locations, buildings in which players need to go to be at the school to learn those particular spells. Your schools could demand loyalty, and so they could demand that you don't go to other schools. There could be quests and or story elements that are linked with the stills, and it can be a factions kind of mechanic as well, which is kind of maybe implied by some of the other things that I've said here. But faction reputations is a relatively common mechanic in some games, where you have a number that represents your faction, your reputation with several different factions, and getting a higher reputation can unlock things, and getting a lower reputation might mean hostilities. So that's a quick skip and a jump through the concept of skills and magic, and that's it from me for now.